In order to achieve the architectural authenticity that was one of our major goals of the restoration of the Marquette building, we studied the original details and plans produced by Halberd and Roche, as well as numerous historic photographs. We also conducted a lot of in-depth laboratory evaluations of the original building materials and systems used. In selecting the appropriate materials for the restoration, we chose to stay as close as possible or to replicate as much as possible the original ornament and color of the materials. In order to achieve that, numerous samples were created by the various fabricators and evaluated by the team in order to determine the one that most closely matched the original color. That was an exhaustive process, and what we found ultimately was the most successful way of making that determination was an evaluation with the naked eye. One of the major goals of our restoration was to use materials which would be able to withstand years of exposure to Chicago weather without losing any of their historic ornament, as well as maintaining the color that was so critical to the aesthetic of the building. In order to achieve this, we did an extensive amount of testing of both the original material and new proposed materials that were going to be used. We talked to material scientists and reviewed various weather data related to the building and the past performances of similar materials.
In restoring the Chicago windows, one of the things we were very interested in doing was returning the building to its original color scheme. To accomplish that, there's the need to do scientific analysis, finish analysis of the original paint on the windows. This is done using a scientific method where paint samples are taken, including some of the wood substrate, so that you get the entire history, sometimes referred to as chromochronology, or stratigraphy of the paint layers on the building. In our case, we were looking for the original paint scheme, and we were able to determine that.
Restoring the terracotta presented many challenges. Part of that challenge is creating a color for the terracotta that blends in with a 100-year-old material. In addition, and perhaps even more challenging, was the recreation of the cornice. There were limited drawings available and limited information available through photographs to determine the ornament and detailing on the cornice. And the color on the cornice was also very challenging in that we now weren't just putting one small piece in the building, we were putting this 10-foot high, 400-foot long band at the top of the building, and the last thing we wanted to do is have it look like it was just put in.
The original materials on the building did present some particular challenges. The original brick of the building, which is quite soft, required a lot of research and experimentation in the best method possible to clean the building without doing any damage to the building. The soft brick that the building was originally built with had a lot of inherent problems that did not allow it to be cleaned in a sort of typical fashion. So there was a combination of both chemical cleaning and what's known as a microabrasive cleaning technique that allowed both the terracotta and the brick to be cleaned back to its original beauty that you see today. The restoration effort on a project of the scale and importance of the Marquette building included a lot of people's efforts, and using not only an understanding of the history of the building, but using the greatest and latest technologies available to the whole team to both reconstruct elements that are missing and restore other elements to what they had been before. When you look at the building from outside and stand back and are really able to take it all in, it's very rewarding to see that it has been able to be returned to what it once had been, and that people who come by and take a look at the building can actually experience it in a way that is very similar, if not exactly the same as it was 100 years ago when it was first completed.